near the town of Rangeley. It's an old sheep herder anticline.
Mhm. In Rangeley.
It's long, yeah, on the, it was called, see, the area was called, oh, what's the Western Crow, Raven Park. It was a big place with outcroppings all the way around. A park in the mountains is a place with it's quite open, with a whole lot of surrounding higher country.
Mhm.
And that was Raven Park. And it was a field discovered in 1932 by a couple of fellows that were driving through and saw the anticline and decided to drill a well there, and they did. But there was some production before that, shale, Mancos Shale. Mancos Shale had produced several million barrels of oil, green oil, better than the oil that the big oil discovered later. We're talking about shale oil now, and this field had was $11 million shale oil coming from fractures in the Mancos Shale. Anyway, I arrived at night, driving my '38 Buick coupe, and I could see the field from a long ways off due to the reflections of light from the flare of oil that was being being vented, gas that was being vented because there wasn't any market for it. They'd processed the gas and taken out what liquid products they could from it, and there was not much of a market for those products either. Rangeley was pretty isolated. There wasn't any railroads near there at all. There wasn't any railroads all the way over to Vernal, Utah. That's about 55 miles west. The nearest railroad was probably up in around Rifle, Colorado, probably, or else up on the Union Pacific, about 50, 60, 70 miles north. Not so much for the railroads, I guess. I found my way to the camp where I was supposed to report in. There wasn't anybody there. I found somebody that was, I don't know what I did the first night, if I stayed in a motel or what the heck. I got in there and called somebody. They gave me a phone number for it. And I got established at the bunkhouse that the bachelors had. Mostly the bachelors are guys like me. There are several young engineers, unmarried engineers, and accountants, and some other roustabouts of bachelors.
Roustabouts?
Hmm?
What'd you call them?
Bachelors?
But did you say roustabout?
Roustabouts, yeah.
What does that mean?
They're a basic laborer in in a production oil field.
Oh, okay.
I had been a roustabout in Salt Creek before that,
Mhm.
but now I was an engineer. And I had my room there. We had the shower and the bathroom separate. There was a couple of other engineers and one other engineer that lived in the bunkhouse, and an accountant, and let me see. I think there was a summer guy that was there. Yeah, was a college guy that were working up there for the summertime.
Mhm.
At Rangeley, the work I did was I tried to determine what wells needed to be worked on, what wells needed to be fractured, given a stimulation treatment, or pulled. And did that as well as I could. That wasn't really, I also did some reserves on some of the wells. The production there was from the Weber Sand. It's Pennsylvania. Same as the sand that's in the Maroon Bells down there near Aspen.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thrills there were hunting and find a place to have a beer. We'd have beers in town, a couple of bars there. Sometimes we'd go over to Vernal, Utah, places around there. And we'd often go out driving for later on in the fall, especially in the fall, hunting in the country south of town. And it was in an area that has now been proven highly productive by, well, let me see, Williams Oil, Williams Engineering has a whole lot of gas production in Piceance Basin, which is as a high ground to the southeast of Rangeley. We sometimes drove over to the Grand Junction area. One time I drove over to Moab, Utah, just going exploring. Later on, just recently, I found that my grandson Andrew, that was his favorite place to go on the weekend when he was going to Colorado Mines. He'd go over there and bicycle in the open country and climb around there. He was really enthusiastic about the area around Moab.
And what company were you working for?
I was working for Stanley Oil and Gas Company.
Stanley, okay.
That was a production department of Standard Oil Company of Indiana.
And so,
in the wintertime, we would drive up the Aspen ski area. It was about 160 miles, about a 3-hour drive. Just drive up there on a Sunday afternoon. And we did that several times. I went my skiing for my first few times there, actually.
what were your skis made out of?
Hmm?
What were your skis made out of?
They're wood skis. I had a Spalding wood ski.
Mm.
It had, the edges were metal, but they weren't interlocking edges. Kind of a cheap ski, but it was better than I knew how to handle it anyway at the time.
Mm-hmm.
There were some girls in the community, a couple of nurses that the company had worked for them. We didn't have really much for full-time doctors there. We had it wasn't a hospital, but it was a doctor's office, several doctors and several nurses. I remember one little nurse she was a single nurse, she had an MG, which was a nice little car at the time. One time I found out I got up and all of a sudden I was sick. And it turned out I had the flu. I caught the flu. You know, I was living in the bunkhouse and wasn't anybody to treat you. I didn't have any parents there anymore. So I just toughed it out and went up to get some food from the Anchor Lounge, which also served 3 meals. And I just killed time until I felt better. I didn't go to bed all the time, but I was, just in my early 20s, so I stayed active, but I didn't work. I was just flat unable to do anything productive. And I got over it and went back to work, and nothing happened.
How long were you in Stanley for? How many years?
I was there about a year and a half, I think. I don't know that I haven't gone back and dug out the dates on all this stuff. So, 4th of July, we had a rodeo there. It was a local produced rodeo. There's cowboys around there, a lot of them, and they were real cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
The range was pretty open. One of the big events on the rodeo was a wild horse race. Now, south of town, about 30 miles out not in the woods, in the prairie, it's scrub country. About 40 miles, there's a herd of wild horses, and they still have a herd of wild horses there. And the cowboys would go out and trap about 20 of these horses for the rodeo and bring them in trucks. And they'd have a wild horse race, and this consisted of taking these horses and putting them out in the arena without any trappings on them, without any harness or anything on them. And it was conducted this way: that cowboys in teams of 2 would go out and rope these horses, saddle them. One of the guys would mount the horses, and then by roping them, they'd rope them, and then they'd get them in hand and put their ears, clamp down on their ears with their teeth, and kind of drag them and subdue them that way and keep them under control while the other cowboy saddled the horse. And the rider would get on, and the winner was determined by, they had, across the arena, they had a wire that was strung from it, and the prize award, which is a bag of cash, was out there, and the winner was the guy that could get up there on his horse, direct his horse there, and pick up the winnings, the earnings. It was a pretty wild thing, as you might imagine, people getting kicked in the head and stuff like that. Never seen or heard anything like it in the world since then. It was probably eliminated because of inhumanity to the critters, not the cowboys. Most of them didn't have any teeth anyway.
What was your favorite thing about Rangeley?
Well, the country, I guess. We'd take trips all over. We'd go way back in the country south of town, up towards Douglas Pass, and sometimes over Douglas Pass. It's a mid-level pass, about 8,500 feet.
Mm.
Up Douglas Creek. In fact, we'd ski sometimes, go up Douglas Creek in the winter and ski down a pipeline right away that came over, as well as we could I had a picture somewhere in my collection of pictures of me sitting down on the ski. It's called a ski run. It wasn't. It was just open snow going down a kind of a gully, along 2 mile gully, something like that. But anyway, that was close as we had to skiing. And like I said before, other times we'd drive all the way over to Aspen.
Did you make good friends?
Oh yeah, I had some good friends there. One of them, I forget his name now. He had a degree in mining engineering from where, I don't know, Ted Ralph. Ted Ralph was his name. Later on, when I was drafted in the Army and went over to Korea, our troop ship stopped at Honolulu, and all the guys on the troop ship got a leave for half a day and got off the boat there, and I went up and gave Ted Ralph a call, and he picked me up and he took me all over showed me all around the island, on the south end of it anyway.
Cool. Was it beautiful?
Oh yeah, I'd never seen anything like that before. But that's later on. Mm-hmm. But that connections, you have to have good friends there. Yeah, we had a lot of good friends. Mm-hmm. Frequently, we'd have guys up there in the summertime. Some of them came from Tulsa. We see Bob and Bill. Oh, a couple of brothers, Catholic kids. I can't think of the names now, but that later, both of them went to Colorado Mines, I think, and got college degrees there.
So when did you leave Rangeley?
Leave. Well, after my time was up there, I was told to come drive back to Casper and work in Casper at the district office for Amoco as a reservoir engineer. So I picked up and drove the 38 Buick. Well, by that time also, I ended up with 2 cars. Sometimes I drive home a time or two from Rangeley on my vacation, and it was a long old drive. I remember one time I stopped in Arapahoe Basin on Berthoud Pass, and no, not with Berthoud, yeah, no, not Berthoud, yeah. No, not Berthoud Pass. I forget the name of it. I stopped there and went skiing at Arapahoe Basin. Then I don't know how many times I drove home from there, once or twice, I guess. Later on in the fall, one of the falls I was there, my brother Tom had just got back from Korea, and he and Dick, with a car that Tom had, an old green Chevy as I recall, they drove up to see me, and Tom was going to go deer hunting. We, on the weekend, we drove over to Vernal, and then went up north of Vernal and east, and went up to on top of the plateau there, and we hunted deer. It was cold and snowy, and we had to use chains to get up this big, about 2,000 feet of road that went up to get into the mountains. Dick and I did a lot of pushing, and Tom was doing the driving. We had to take off. We had to demud the chain. We're going over a lot of real sticky shale on the road up there. So we'd accumulate clay underneath in the tires and underneath the car, and have to stop it and scrape that stuff off before we could get to moving again. Finally got up at night and set up camp. We had a cheap tent of some sort. I forget much about it. Didn't do any good, didn't even see any deer up there. Came down after one night or 2 nights, we decided that wasn't going to be productive. We're up in an area in Colorado that's west of the Green River. The White River that flowed through Rangeley flows into the Green River a little bit downstream from Rangeley. Green River comes in from Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an area that had a two deer limit, and had a long season because it never got hunted and it was overpopulated with deer, but we didn't see the darn deer they were talking about. Anyway, we came back to Rangeley, and the weather eased up quite a bit, and I went back to work, and Tom and Dick went out hunting the next day, and they came in that night with a 4-point deer that Tom brought back. He had it mounted in a place near I'm trying to think of the town, little town that is only on some airplane charts, I think, in Colorado, near a famous bridge over the Arkansas River. I forget the name of it now. I could add that later. But Tom had it mounted, and he brought that back and put the deer head up in the cabin in Spavanaw Creek. And stayed there till we got rid of we stayed there even after, Dad sold the cabin. And the head stayed there. I eventually got it back in my possession whenever I bought the cabin from Quanah Sumter, the old family cabin. And, I guess we put it down to the clubhouse in the den, in the living room there over the fireplace. And it sat there for many years until, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, something like that. They took it down and put another nicer looking head up there. The deer that we had was kind of spoiling, coming apart. I ended up taking it home, taking possession of it again, and Fred remounted it just with the horns and not any hide or anything. And I now have it in my den. He did that same thing to an elk that he had shot on a trip up there, antelope that I'd shot when Marie and I had first moved to Casper.
So how long were you in Casper for after Rangeley?
I was there for about a year. We did a lot of fishing there. We'd go down the middle fork of the Powder River, Barcy Canyon, go in there, go down the canyon, fish in the bottom of the middle fork. And other places, I had gone up the Red Fork when I would live there. When I lived in Midwest, I'd gone into the middle, the Red Fork of the middle fork of the Powder River. One time with a guy named Bud Lewis, who was a gang pusher, which is a gang pusher is a supervisor of a bunch of roustabouts. Bud knew the people there, and he got permission for us to. I caught a few fish. That was good fishing. Never got back there again though. So that was back when I had first got up to, was working and living in Midwest Wyoming. Let me see. I got to Casper. Started doing more skiing. We went to. We on the weekends we'd frequently drive up to Jackson, and the lift there was right in back of town, Jackson. It wasn't anything near like the big ski development they have there now. Sky King Mountain was the name of it, I think. It was very cold. I remember going down one time and my head was burning. The only thing I had on my head was a little ring around my ears. And I thought that my head was going to fall off. It was so damn cold. And it was a steep, pitched mountain. And it was a real agony coming down. You take a big, long 200-yard traverse in one way and then stop and fall down and get up and point it the other way and take another one until I could get into ground and a snow that was level enough so I could make a snowplow turn, which is all that I knew how to do. Though we had fun doing that. Bob Bryan was a good skier. He was one of the guys I'd gone to school with at TU. He was an older fellow. He fought in the WW2 on an aircraft carrier. And had the aircraft carrier sunk underneath him. He was one of my buddies in Salt Creek. And later he was in my wedding in Tulsa later on. See, where am I now?
How long, or so you were in Casper for a year, and then what happened after Casper?
Well, at Casper, let me see, tell you more about Casper if I can.
We have a minute left on this right now.
Oh, okay. Well, at Casper, while I was in Casper, no, let me see, that's later on. I eventually, okay, I got drafted in Casper. And I had to go into the Army then, which I did. I'll try to get the dates on the Army stuff if I can.
Mm-hmm.
That will be the next session. That me?
That's you. So, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on creating a career.
Creating a career.
Yeah, like a life. What do you think about having a career? how do you create one? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you have to do something you want to do. You don't want to do. You like to do. And you have to have a little experience for that. You have to have some experience to know what you really want to do. You just can't be a fireman unless you know what a fireman does.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn about it. And I think that probably the most important thing is that you're going to get some reward for it, and that it'll satisfy you that you're doing good stuff, stuff that needs to be done. And that's the main thing. You don't want to work too hard, but you want to have to work hard. You want to like it well enough so that you work hard, and that you spend overtime if you need to. You have to like it enough to do that.
Mm-hmm. So, for you, did you always know that you wanted to be a petroleum engineer? Or?
I thought I did. I thought that was all young men in Tulsa, Oklahoma wanted to do.
Yeah.
Go to TU and be a petroleum engineer. I thought that was a normal thing to do.
And do you feel like it's something that you've enjoyed, or?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it all the time.
That's great.
I wasn't good as a student, but I enjoyed it. I liked to find out what was going on.
Okay. Did you ever think that maybe you wanted to do something else, or were you always satisfied?
Oh, I've thought about it, but not very much. I know I did not want to be a baker. I worked in bakeries too much, I guess, maybe. Mm-hmm. And Dad found that it's not such a good thing to do for a guy as an independent, unless you can get the bakery up big enough to be important on the scale of the world.
Yeah.
My dad had the right idea to go to a technical school to learn how to be a baker, although he knew how to bake from his father's bake shop in St. Louis, but he still knew that you had to know more than that to be a success as a wholesale baker. Mm-hmm. So he decided to learn, and he did. He went to trade school and learned how to bake bread by formulas, and I remember he had a scale, a little very accurate scale that he used to test flour. He tested it and for the ash and stuff like that, and whether or not it arose. Mm-hmm. And had several other tests for it, and they didn't give him any bad flour. He'd had experience with bad flour that come to his father had bought, I'm sure, and he didn't like to get into any bad flour. Bread's mainly flour and water, mm-hmm. with a few other things in there to make it rise and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that it's best to just choose one thing and go all the way with it, or is it better to try different things?
Well, if you choose something and you find out you don't really want to go down that road anymore, you better change pretty quick if you can.
Right.
That's why it's always best to be single when you're starting out.
That's a good.
So you don't have somebody else telling you what to do. And it's when you have a. I was always blessed with having my wife always didn't give me any advice on what I should be doing in my business. Now, I gave her no cause to complain about me or bitch at me.
So you named your oil company Marjoe.
Marjoe.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Marjoe. Well, after I'd been up to Wyoming and came back here and worked for Kepling and Wanamaker for about 5 years. And I worked with Joe Wanamaker and Arnold Brown for 3 or 4 years. And I decided I wanted to go out on my own. So I left them and went to work partly for Kaiser Francis. And then I left them and went on my own after I worked for Kaiser Francis.
How long were you with Kaiser Francis for?
Hmm?
How long were you with Kaiser Francis for?
Oh, a couple of years. I worked for Herman, the father, and George, the son.
How was that experience?
That was good. Very, 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 very pleasant. I was the first technical guy outside the family.
Yeah. So then you went and started Marjo.
Then I started Marjo as I just was independent, and then I had to have a name to use, so I called it Marjo Oil Company.
Were you afraid to start your own thing, or?
No, I had been pretty well solo, making my own living for a good while.
And how old were you when you started that?
Well, let me see. I don't know exactly how old I was. I was about 35 or 40, I guess.
Okay.
Now I'm 86.
The company's been around for a while.
Well, I have been around for a while, and it's getting more disorganized though as time goes on.
Gotta get someone in here and get it all wrapped up in shape.
Huh?
We've got to get someone in here to help you get organized.
Well, yeah, that would be good, but then I'd get organized, I'd have to work again.
Okay. So why did you name the company Marjo?
Company Marjo, well, that was Marie and Joe Mueller. That was the name of it, Marjo.
Did you see it as a partnership, kind of, with
Have
Marie?
I had other partnerships?
No. Just why did you feel like you wanted to use your name and Grandma's name?
Well, I just thought it was just a good name.
Yeah.
It was. I didn't know of any other name like that was an oil company or anything, any name,
Mm-hmm.
a bread company or anything like that.
I think it's very sweet.
Hmm?
It's very sweet.
Well, it seemed to work okay.
I think it did.
I have several companies named Marjo now. Marjo Operating Company, Marjo Oil Company.
And where all do you guys have operations?
We have operations here in Oklahoma and Kansas and some in Texas. And we do some, well, we look at stuff all over. We have some stuff in North Dakota
Okay.
in the recent play up there in the northern part of North Dakota and the, what do you call it? I forget the name of the play.
Oh. I think I know what you're talking about. I can't remember either. Okay. So how important do you think work is?
Work is? Well,
Yeah.
work's the main thing you're going to do, so it better be important.
Yeah.
If you don't like to work, you won't make it very important, I don't think. But if you like it, it will be important to you.
So do you think you like to work? That's something that's,
I like to do, yeah, and I think I know what I'm doing, so I like to do it. But
yeah.
it's kind of, it keeps changing all the time. You have to learn new stuff, and I don't learn new stuff so quickly anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting out of the mainstream of petroleum engineering and geology.
Yeah. question is. Why do you think that some people like to work more than other people? Is it ambition or drive, or what drives you to want to work?
Well, it allows you to accomplish what you want to accomplish. You have to have something to accomplish when you have a job. When you work, you have to be able to direct it towards something to accomplish, some goal that you have to do, and make money, be profitable, and hopefully give something to your children.
Is that what were your goals? What for you personally was it that drove you to want to work? What did you want to achieve?
I just wanted to do something that needed to be done, so I knew how to do.
Simple.
You have to enjoy it, like making movies.
But did you have like any goals you felt like in your life that work was going to help you accomplish?
Well, that's supported myself and my family.
So family was important.
Yeah, it was important. Yes, of course it was important. And it allowed me to have time with my family. I did not